What's up, everyone? Eric Allen, founder of Planiversity, back here with you to talk about yet another very interesting topic. Now, let me just straight off the back, let me just ask you all a question. How many times have you been at the airport and you're going through security and you are absolutely going insane in your head because the people in front of you are taking forever? You know, they're stripping off their belts slowly, they're taking off their shoes slowly, they go through security, the alarms start going off, everything's beeping, and next thing you know, security's sending them back through not once, not twice, but maybe 3 times because they forget to take their watch off. They forget to have a handkerchief in their pocket. You know, and just people like this make me insane. I'm sure it makes you insane. It definitely makes me insane. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about today are how we can actually get through security faster. No, it's true. We can't absolutely control everything, but there are some things that we can do with regard to ourselves to make our process actually go a lot smoother. So yes, I travel a lot of times, and a lot of times I'll be going through the airport, I'll be going through security, and I will be watching the people ahead of me and behind me or off to the sides of me taking forever just to get through. But when it comes to me, I am literally like, boom, right through, first time go, grab my bag, and I'm on the go. I mean, literally, I just strip down on everything, throw it onto the belt, goes through the machine. I walk through the gate, never a single beep. I come out the other side and boom, that's it. I'm done. I'm moving on, off to my gate. Grabbing a cup of coffee first, but then off to my gate. So let's just talk about today how we can actually get through security faster, some of the things that we can actually do to make our process a little bit smoother. Now, I do want to take into consideration first a few things, all right? One, we have to understand right away, we can't control every variable. We can't control our environment, right? Sometimes we can control our environment when it's literally us in the driver's seat. But when it comes to something like an airport and getting through airport security, there's no way we're going to control the environment, all right? So you have to understand that no matter what you do, no matter how much you can actually prepare to allow yourself to get through security faster, you can't control those other people, all right? You can't control the parents coming through with a stroller with 3 children. You can't control the older couple. You can't control the first time travelers who really don't know what they're doing, so they kind of need a little bit of extra time. Or you can't control those people who actually have been through security a number of times, but they still just don't seem to get how to make this thing go smoother. All right. The other thing is, we're not talking about times. We're not talking about dates. We're not talking about locations in this conversation. Okay. Obviously, there's going to be differences when it comes to times. You know, if I talk about that it gets through, it takes a certain amount of time to get through security one day, it could be a completely different amount of time based on another day, another time frame, a holiday, something like that. If you listen to one of my recent podcasts, when I was going through the Munich airport, I'd never seen the Munich airport that busy. As a matter of fact, the main security line was over an hour long. Can you imagine that? Over an hour long. And can you imagine waiting in line over an hour just to get up to the gate, get up to the security checkpoint, just to see the people in front of you just taking forever to get their shoes off, taking forever to get things out of their pockets. They act like they've never been through the process, and maybe they haven't, but they're just so confused. And in your head, you're going crazy because you're already stressed because of the time it's taking to get through the security line. And now you have to sit there and watch these people slow you down. The least you can do is be better about it yourself, so that 1, you get through security faster for yourself, and 2, you're not tying up the people behind you. Okay. So obviously, it doesn't matter. One time's not going to be the same as the other. If I'm going through a security checkpoint in mid-September versus 4th of July weekend in the United States, obviously, huge difference, right? The locations are going to be different, because if I'm traveling through my hometown of Syracuse, New York, the Hancock International Airport, it's going to be a little less time to get through that security checkpoint versus me going through Philadelphia, which is the nearest large major metropolitan airport close to me. All right. You always have to take these extra variables into consideration, but we're not talking about that today. Today, I just want to teach you how to get through security from A to B, just like that, without tying yourself down. Okay. The least you can do is take the things that you can control under your wing, and then just make them happen. All right. Fix those little things so that when it comes to you, when you get up to the point where you're ready to go through security, you're done with it in a matter of 30 seconds and you're moving on. You're not tying people up and you're not tying yourself up. That's important. All right. So let's get into it. There's a few things that I want to talk about. a few points that I'm going to throw your way, things that I personally do. And did I always know to do this? Absolutely not. In the past, I've been tied up myself. I've slowed people down myself, I'm sure. I've gone in there and been completely unprepared, you know? Although today things are pretty well regulated. Most people know that when you're going through security, you want to have your toiletries in a little plastic bag that's transparent so they can actually see it, you know, the security. You know that you got to take your electronic devices off, you know, or out of the bag. You know that you typically have to take your shoes off. You know, there's some things that are pretty well common knowledge. And if you don't know those things, at least one of the things you have going for you is you can pretty much jump on any website having to do with airport security and find out exactly what it is that you need to do to make sure that you get through security with the amount of information that you need. All right. So one of the things that I was doing some research on is the average amount of time it takes to get through security. Now, I'm not talking about global entry. I'm not talking about TSA pre-check. Okay. That's what I always go through, but I'm talking about just a standard security line, how much time it actually takes to get through that. And it's a great thing for me that somebody else has already done all the homework out there and they've jotted down the average times of some of the largest airports in the United States. And what they came up with was 5 of the largest airports in the United States have an average, now this is an average between the 5, of 11 and a half minutes. Okay. When I say 11 and a half, it doesn't really sound like that much time, but 11 and a half minutes of just standing there, just kind of waiting, watching the people ahead of you fumble through, you know, getting their things on the conveyor belt, getting things out of their pocket. It can be a long time, you know, 11 and a half minutes, especially when you have children, especially when you're bringing an elderly person with you, especially if you have an injury and you're trying to get through security. All these things, they just kind of eat away at you, and you want to find ways to make these things not as stressful as they can be. All right. So 11 and a half minutes, that's the average amount of time it takes at most of the largest airports. Okay. 11 and a half minutes, not the worst amount of time, not the best amount of time. I'd much rather it be 5 minutes, but I'm happy that it's not 20 minutes. And definitely depending on where you're flying out of and the date that you're flying, it absolutely can be 20 minutes or more. So let's go ahead and get into this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull up the whiteboard for you. I always love pulling up the whiteboard. Let me just get this situated here so we can show everyone, because I want to be able to show you in a very tangible format the things that I'm talking about. Okay. And I'm sorry for those of you listening in your car, listening to the podcast without any audio, but here's what we do. We got a circle in the center. All right. You got to think of this as a holistic process. There's not just one thing you can do or 2 things that you can do, but there's a number of things that you need to do, and all at the same time to make this process go a lot smoother for you. Right. So the first and foremost thing that I want people to do, and that I do myself, is choose the right line. You know, it's very rare that you actually go through airport security when it's just you going through security, okay? Or there's just one line in security. Usually you're going to see like 2, 3, 4, 5 different security lines, and you typically have the right to choose, or you have an option to choose there, okay? You're not stuck with just that one. Now, obviously smaller airports, I've been through smaller airports, like extremely small airports, like Dothan, Alabama small airport, where it literally was me going through security. So obviously it doesn't really matter here. I am the factor. I am what's going to slow me down or speed me up, right? But if I'm going through a larger airport, you know, Philadelphia, Miami, Chicago, New York, something like that, there's typically multiple lines because you have a lot more people. You know, you go through Atlanta, they have like 5 lines open. You go through Newark, you go through any of these larger airports, Charlotte, there's typically, you know, at least 2. Usually there'll be more like 3 or 4 security lines that you can go through. And what I like to do is I pay very close attention to the people that are ahead of me. Okay. So I'm looking to see who's got a stroller, who's elderly. Is there an injured person ahead of me? Not to say I have anything against any of these people. Okay. Because I don't, but the thing is, if my goal is to get through security faster because somehow I'm behind on time, one of the things that I want to do is I really want to pay attention when I'm looking at those lines. Don't just stand in line fiddling around with your phone. Don't just stand there in security line waiting to get up to the point where you have to show your ID card and your plane ticket. No, you don't want to wait until that point. Pay attention. Look ahead of you. Look and see what lines are going faster, because a lot of times you'll see some lines might have a couple of TSA agents that are actually like really on point, and they're speeding people through. They know what they're doing. They're efficient. It's great. Everything looks good. And then you look over to the other security line and they just look slow and apathetic. It doesn't really matter to them how long you take, because they're going to be there for 8 hours regardless, or 10 hours or 12 hours, or however long they're going to be there. So what I'm always doing is I'm looking ahead. I'm looking to see who's getting in this line. Now, if I'm standing in the security line to get up to the point where I have to show my ID card and there's already a family ahead of me with 3 children in a stroller, I'm paying attention to what line they're going through, because I know that they're going to have to get those kids prepared. They're going to have to get the one smallest child out of the stroller. They're going to have to collapse the stroller. They're going to have to empty all pockets. Mom's going to have to walk through the security checkpoint holding the baby or holding the toddler. And it just becomes a big process. All right. So what I want to do is I'm paying attention. I'm always paying attention to see who has the highest capability of slowing me down, right? I don't want to get behind somebody that looks like that they're just completely unaware of the surroundings, right? I don't want to get behind somebody that looks like they're just going to be slower than you know what. I want to get behind a line of people who seem to be on a very good flow. Hopefully that line of people that's on a good flow is also at the same point where the TSA is a little bit more experienced, a little more efficient at what they do, right? If I don't, and I don't pay attention, I just leave it up to chance, well, then it's kind of my fault, all right? If I have the opportunity to get into the line that's moving faster versus the line that's got, a few older couples in front of me and a person in a wheelchair, and then you got a family with a stroller, well, then it's kind of on me. I've made that decision by not paying attention, by, playing around with my phone in line and checking my Instagram account when I should have been paying attention to my surroundings. All right. So number one, always choose the right line. If you have an option, pay attention, see what's moving faster, and then choose the right line. Okay. Number two that we're going to talk about is wearing the right clothing. So let's go ahead and add this on here. I want to wear the right clothing. Now, what do I mean when I say wear the right clothing? Wear the right clothing. For me, this is what I do. Okay. I want to make sure that I've got on the proper shoes. I want to make sure that I've got on pants that don't require me to wear a belt. I want to make sure that I have a shirt that doesn't have any kind of metal in it. I want to make sure the shoes don't have zippers in it. I want to make sure that I'm not wearing this or that that's going to cause me to actually slow down. Okay. So one of the things that I'm actually doing when I get ready to go to the airport, I line out my outfit ahead of time. All right. That's always the biggest thing for me, is the day before I'm lining up my outfit. I'm setting everything up. I'm making sure I'm prepared to go. I'm making sure that the next morning when I wake up, that all I have to do is take my shower, get ready, throw those clothes on, and I'm ready to go. I'm out the door. One of the things that I always pay attention to is the types of pants. I learned this long ago, okay? We all know, even going through TSA pre-check, it doesn't matter. You are taking that belt off. So if you have a belt on, just plan on taking it off. And just going through the process of having to take the belt off, most people don't even think to do it in advance. Me, I just don't do it at all. Typically, if I'm going through security, I have a pair of drawstring pants on. One, because it's comfortable to fly in, all right? I want something, especially if I'm flying overseas, I want a pair of pants that are comfortable, that are going to be almost like sports pants, but not quite sports pants. They're still professional looking, but sports pants, really, they're not that expensive. You can get all sorts of price ranges on these things. But the biggest thing that I want is to make sure that it has a drawstring. I don't want a belt. I don't want a belt because that's one more thing I have to take off. That's one more thing I have to worry about. Next thing, I typically have a t-shirt on. And of course, I get stripped down to the t-shirt. So I make sure that I take my jacket off. Jacket's always got to come off. Even if I do have a jacket on, and a lot of times jackets do have zippers, jackets do have buttons, they have some metal on them. You're going to plan on taking that off. So I get down into the t-shirt. But if I'm flying, I usually want those drawstring pants on, a nice top, like a sweatshirt, but I'll have my t-shirt on there, and whatever it is, it's typically cotton. It's not anything that's going to cause a security alarm to go off or a metal detector to go off. Okay. When it comes to shoes, I have a nice pair of Lacoste slide-on shoes. Now they're just normal shoes. Obviously I can lace them up. I typically tuck my laces in because I don't want to sit there and untie things. So I've actually gotten to the point where I could just slip them on and slip them off. I don't need to sit there, untie anything. I don't need to do or undo any zippers. I just make sure that whatever I have on, I can slip off. So if you're a female and you're planning on going through security, one of the things that you might want to do is get a comfortable pair of pants, wear a dress. If you're going someplace warm, you can typically get away with wearing a dress. Now, I usually like to wear something warm on an airplane because if I'm flying at altitude for 8 hours, it typically gets pretty cold in the airplane. People are a lot, we don't like being cold. I'll just say that. People don't like being cold, but it's a lot more uncomfortable when you're flying for 8 hours and you're just sweating like crazy. Okay. And I've been on those flights where it can be rather warm because they turn the heat up too much. So what they'll usually do is they'll leave it cooler on the airplane. You have blankets, you have pillows. You typically are dressed accordingly so you're not freezing. I mean, I'm not seeing the breath come out of anyone's mouth on an airplane. It's not that cold, but they can get pretty cold. But if you're just going somewhere short distance, it's warm out, obviously if you wear a dress, that's going to make your life experience or your experience so much easier, right? But for men, really consider just putting a pair of pants on with a drawstring. You can get a really nice professional looking pair of pants. You can get a pair of pants that even does take a belt but still has a drawstring where you can just remove the belt, pack it up, don't need it until you get to your destination. And now that's one last thing you got to worry about. Okay. And as far as the shoes go, I always like something that slips on and slips off. For a lot of females, this isn't an issue, especially if you wear flats, if you wear heels, something like that. A lot of times those shoes just pop right off. It's too easy. For men, we don't have shoes. We don't often wear shoes that match the same profile. So I'm not saying that they don't exist. Of course, today there's lots of styles in men's fashion that actually are sliding on and sliding off. But for me, that's all I care about, is making sure that whenever I travel, out of all my assortment of all the shoes that I have, I want to make sure that the ones that I'm wearing when I'm traveling are actually ones that'll slide on and slide off when I need them to. So that way, when I get up to security, now I've got no belt. I've got nothing on as far as the metal on my shirt, on my top, anything like that that's going to go off, and my shoes just pop off just like that. Those things right there will speed you up so much more. All right. So let's go into the next thing. What's the next point that we want to talk about is bringing the right bags. Let's go ahead and add that to the list. So what do I mean when I say bring the right bag? All right, let's just adjust this quick. So bringing the right bag, that's for me, that means something with compartments. All right. If I have to bring a bag that has one large compartment, that one large compartment is going to be an absolute mess. It's going to be a mess, especially if you have extra clothing in it, especially if you have your computers, if you have your devices, if you have charging cables, your wallet, your passport, you have all this stuff inside that bag. Now it's just an absolute mess inside there. So what I like to do is I have a computer bag that has 4 compartments. That's right, 4 compartments, because when I'm traveling, I have a work computer, I have a secondary work computer, I have books that I need to bring with me, I have an iPad, I have charging cables, I have other compartments for other things that I want to be able to put in there. Now, Obviously, if I had this all in the same compartment, this would be an absolute mess, and I don't want that. So what I do is, knowing that I need to be a little bit more organized when I travel, is I actually have a bag that has multiple compartments. So that way, when I open it up, when I pull my laptop out, I don't need to mess with everything else. I don't need to fish around clothing. I don't need to fish around charging cables. I don't need to fish around this or that. I literally just open the one compartment that matters in that moment, and I take that laptop out, I put it in the bin, I'm good to go. That will save you so much time. I can't even tell you. Just having a little bit of organization. Now, you might be thinking, well, I don't travel with a bag. I travel with a small suitcase. And that's fine. If you travel with a small suitcase, use what you have. Obviously, you can just try to organize it a little bit better, so that way you put clothing on one layer, you put charging cables and devices on another layer, and then you put the most important things that you're going to need on the very top layer that's accessible. So that way, when you open it up, they slide right out. You zipper that thing back up, button it up, whatever you got to do, and you're on your way. Okay. But if that's what you like to have, is one of the smaller suitcases, one of the little totes, then what you can do is look online. I promise you, I've done the research. There's a ton of different bags, suitcases out there that have your main compartment for the clothing, and then they have a zipper, an external zipper compartment, or an external compartment for a laptop. So that way you don't have to get into the compartment that has all the clothing and start digging through there and fishing things out. You just have that one external compartment with the laptop. You unzip it, pull the laptop out, zipper it back up, boom. Now you've got those things separated. So for me, it's very important. I want to make sure that I always travel with this same bag, because this bag has made my life dramatically easier when it comes to traveling. All right. I have these multiple compartments, and two of them I don't even mess with. I don't even mess with them. I don't open them. I don't need to open them. The only thing I do is the back two compartments to pull the two laptops and the iPad out. That's all I care about. All right. And that's what you can do to make your life a little bit easier in that respect. So let's kind of recap on everything that we have so far. One, we have, now I'm going to go back to the screen because I want you to be able to see it. We have choosing the right line. Make sure that you're paying attention. Don't mess around with your phone while you're standing there. Pay attention ahead of you and see what lines are going faster. 2, wear the right clothing. Don't wear clothing that has a belt requirement, that has metal on it, that has zippers. A lot of those old jeans, those Levi Strauss jeans, they have those little metal buttons, the little metal rivets. Sometimes those things will actually go off in the security checkpoint, all right, in the metal detector. Obviously, if you don't have to, don't wear those. Get yourself a pair of comfortable pants with a drawstring on them. Make sure that you get rid of the belt option. Put the belt in your suitcase. Don't worry about it till you get to your destination. Number 3, bring the right bag. Plan accordingly. Get yourself a very well organized bag that you already have, or get yourself a good bag organizer, an organized bag that's already designed that way. So that way your life is a little bit easier when you're traveling. Make sure it has multiple compartments. Make sure it has the option to store all of your charging cables in one area and keep your laptops accessible with a simple unzip and zip. You can make it a 2-second process. It's nothing. All right. Now, on to the next thing. All right. Now, this is one of those things that I was talking about is kind of common knowledge. And if it's not common knowledge, this is something that you can find out just simply going on to the website. All right. So that is to consolidate liquids. Now, if you don't know about consolidating liquids today, it probably means that you've been out of the loop for quite a while. All right. That means you might not have that much experience when it comes to traveling. But consolidating liquids, what's the standard in the United States? 3.4 ounces or 100 milliliters. All right. That's a very small bottle when it comes to toothpaste. That's a very small deodorant stick. That's a very small eyedropper, whatever you need. But they're typically little bottles like this. All right. And what do? You just consolidate them. It's that simple. Put your chapstick, put your shampoos, put your toothpaste, put it all in a small Ziploc bag. If you don't want to try and squeeze it all, because we've all been there where we've taken, 10 small bottles or 8 small bottles. We try to put them into that one Ziploc bag. We're trying to close it. It tears, busts at the top, doesn't work. Spend the $2 that it takes to get yourself a larger bag. Get yourself a larger Ziploc bag, or you can actually even buy bags now on Amazon, on any of these websites. You can buy actual travel bags that are transparent, that are larger than a standard Ziploc bag, that seal up and that are reusable. You might have the thing for 5 years. All right. It's a small investment for a long return. Okay. But the biggest thing is, it should be no secret to people today. Make sure that you consolidate all of your liquids. All right. What I do is I don't travel with any liquids. What I like to do is I like to take all my liquids, all my toiletries, I put them in my checked baggage, and I don't care about them until I get to my destination. What I will do is I'll travel with a toothbrush in my main bag, and toothbrush isn't going to go off in a metal detector. It's nothing that's liquid. It doesn't need to be declared. It doesn't need to be put in a plastic bag. I keep that in my travel bag, and whenever I feel the need to brush up or polish up, all I need is a bottle of water and a fresh, clean toothbrush. That's it. Maybe a toothpick, all right? But when it comes to your liquids, it's no secret today. If you have something greater than 3.4 ounces, it's going to get kicked back. You know, if you try going through there, even with a jar of peanut butter, I have done this. Now, this was in the beginning. I mean, we're talking like 2005 time frame. After 2001, I tried going through security with peanut butter. It's not liquid. It's, to me, it's more of a solid. But yeah, they actually confiscated it, all right, because it was more than 3.4 ounces, and to them, it was liquid enough, all right? Consolidate your liquids. It's no secret. If you need to know specifically what to consolidate, go on TSA's website. Go on Google and just type in, what liquids do I need to declare? What liquids do I need to show or keep in a plastic bag? If you don't need to have liquids on you, I would say just check them in your checked baggage. Put them in your checked baggage. Honestly, what do people really need to have? Unless you anticipate traveling cross country, traveling around the world, and you're going to have a long layover somewhere where you're going to want to freshen up with, you know, your toothbrush, your toothpaste, with some eye drops, maybe with some lotion, something like that, chapstick. If you feel like you're going to need those things, fine. Put them in the bag and have them ready to go when you get up to the security point. So all you have to do, just like your laptop, you unzip it, you throw it out into the container or into the bin, and that's it. You know, you're ready to go. But if you are just going from point A to B, if you're just flying from Chicago to Orlando and you plan on being there in about 3 hours, my suggestion is just check it. There's no reason that you would actually need to have all these toiletries in your carry-on baggage, all right? Unless you feel like there's a chance you're going to get a long layover somewhere, or you're going to get stranded somewhere because there's a snowstorm back in Minneapolis and you plan on flying in there in the middle of February. I get that. I would completely understand that. I'm not the authority, but I would say my suggestion is to you, just put it in your checked baggage. If you need to carry it on with you, put it in a clear bag, 3.4 ounces, consolidate it all, make sure it's in that easy to access compartment, okay? And then unzip, throw it into the bin, zip it back up, and you're on your way. Honestly, between the taking the shoes off, taking the laptops out, toiletries out, putting them in the bag, that's not going to slow you down that much. You can have those 3 things done in a matter of 30 seconds. If you're somebody, and I'm not talking about like moving like fast, I'm talking about moving at a very just continual calm pace, but consistent, right? All right. We don't need to stress ourselves out, but you do need to actually move with a purpose, and being organized before you go is going to help you move with a purpose. All right. So let's look at the next thing that we would recommend is to, now this is going to sound funny when I say it, but strip before you arrive. Now, what does that mean when I say strip before you arrive? Let's get that typed out. All right, so when I say strip before arriving, that means get everything out of your pocket in advance. Don't just wait till the last second. Don't wait till you're actually standing in the security line. What I typically do, this is just me, as soon as I get my plane ticket and I'm checked in, I step off to the side where there's usually lines of seats, or on my way to security checkpoint, there's always some seats somewhere. There's always an area where I can just stop, set my bag down. What I'm doing is I'm taking my watch off. If I got a necklace on, I'm taking it off. If I have any things in my pockets, I'm taking them off. If I have my phone, I'm taking it out of my pocket. Change, keys, you name it. empty your pockets. The only thing that you need when you go up to security checkpoint is you need your ID card, a verifiable ID card, something that is flight approved. Obviously, you want that little star on the corner of it to show that it's actually a federally backed identification card, or your passport. But you just need that, and you need your ticket. If you have your ticket on your phone or your boarding pass on your phone, that's fine. So just have your ID card and your phone out and nothing else. You should not be getting up to security emptying 72 cents out of your pocket, pulling your necklace off, removing your earrings and your watch. You're taking your watch off, you're taking your other watch off, you're taking your bracelets off, and you just got all this stuff that you got to strip down. Why wait till that point? Even if you're standing in security check line and you're waiting to get up to the point where you show your ID card, you could already be emptying your pockets right there. So if I do have a pair of pants that requires a belt, that's where I'm taking the belt off. That's where I'm taking my watch off. I'm getting everything prepped and ready to go so that I get up to security checkpoint. The only thing that I need to do, take the jacket off, take the laptops out, and that is it. Maybe take my shoes off. Like I said, I go through TSA pre-check. Sometimes you got to take the shoes off. Sometimes you don't. But a lot of times it's just the laptops. It's the jacket. If I have anything else, it's already in the bag. I don't want to worry about it. I don't want to sit there and dump everything. You know, those little dishes, those little bowls that you have to put on the conveyor belt that are just like the bins, but they're a tiny little bin. They're a bowl bin. I don't like putting my stuff in there because I don't like the fact that I might be standing in a line behind 3 other people, and now my things are coming out on the other end, and I've got a watch in there, I've got change in there, I've got money, maybe I've got a money clip, maybe I've got my wallet, maybe I've got my passport, and now that's on the other side of security, but here I am standing behind other people. Don't put yourself in that situation. Don't even get there. Just what you need to do in advance is just strip down, take everything out of your pockets, make sure you don't have anything, no tissue, no handkerchiefs, no anything. Get rid of the bracelets, get rid of the necklaces, get rid of something that could go off. Now, if there's ever a question about whether or not you have metal in your bones, you've got a broken bone in the past, you have some kind of surgery, hip replacement, anything like that, and you had metal put in you, don't worry about that stuff. All right. I can tell you personally, because I broke my foot in the past and I have 8 screws in my left foot, those don't go off. All right. The metal detectors are technologically advanced enough today where they're not going to pick up those little things and see those as, hey, he's hiding something metal in his foot. Okay. And a lot of people think that you need that little metal card, all right, that little card from your doctor saying, oh, he's got metal in his foot. He's got a metal hip, or he's got a knee replacement. They don't do those anymore. Once they figured out that people can actually reproduce those at home to try and get through security, they did away with those. If security goes off for any reason, or if the metal detector goes off, they're going to scan you. It doesn't really matter. They're going to scan you. Even if you got this little card, you who has the card and the person who doesn't have the card, you're both going to be standing next to each other getting scanned if for some reason that metal in your body goes off. But it doesn't. I can tell you right now, it doesn't. So again, strip down before you get there. Just make sure you get everything out of your pockets, and make sure that if you have children, make sure if you have an injury, if you're going through with crutches, okay, you got to get through with crutches. That makes sense. But if you're going through and, you got some kind of metal on your boot, you got something like this, you can take that off. If you have children, make sure your children's pockets are empty. Don't wait till you get up to security checkpoint to start emptying your kids' pockets or trying to empty the stroller or do this or that. Make sure in advance you've already got that stuff dumped out of your pockets. You're ready to go. It's not a problem. All right. Now, last but not least, let's go ahead. The very last thing I would say is to pay attention. Number 6. I'm actually going to put this in caps. All right. Pay attention. It's just like I said before. All right. Just so everybody can see it. Pay attention. Pay attention. Pay attention. When you're standing in the security line, there's no reason, unless you're standing there for about 30 minutes or that hour. Okay, I get it. You want to entertain yourself. If you're a business person and you're expecting a call, you're responding to things, you're checking emails, fine, whatever. It is what it is. But if you're just standing there, you're just average person who's, not super important business-wise. You're just traveling for leisure. You're disconnected. You're incommunicado. I would say put the phone away. While you're traveling, if you want to go through security and you want to get through it faster, that's where your focus needs to be, okay? Not sitting there playing around, answering your friend on WhatsApp or Instagram, and all of a sudden you look up and now the line is just waiting on you. You don't want to be that person, right? Put the phone away. It's too easy. Just put the phone down. You don't need to sit there and play with it. At least for that 11 and a half minutes, you don't have to. Now, 11 and a half minutes, that's just the average. Again, I've been through security lines where it takes 5 minutes. I've been through security lines where it probably takes 8 minutes. And I've been through security lines where it takes 15 minutes. They're all a little bit different. But in that time, you, I promise, will survive without your phone. There's no reason for you to be sitting there playing on that. If you're having a conversation, have your conversation, but keep your attention directed forward. Make sure that you're not tying up the people behind you. How many times have we all somewhat gone insane because the line is moving, but the people in front of you are just doing this? They're just talking, and now the people in front of them are so far ahead that they're like 15, 20 feet ahead, and now there's this huge gap. You're screaming in your head, come on, man, pay attention, move up. And then finally they're like, oh, okay. And they start walking forward. Happens all the time. I promise you it happens all the time, but it doesn't need to. All right. Last minute recap. Let's go over these things again. Starting off with number 1, choose the right line. Make sure you're paying attention. You choose the right line because you want the line that's actually flowing along. Number 2, wear the right clothing. You don't need belts. You don't need things with metal in them. You don't need shoes that are super complex to take on or take off and put on. Just wear something that slips on and slips off. That's it. Nothing super complicated. Bring the right bag. So make sure if you're going to travel and you want to get through security, you want to travel faster, you want to travel more organized, get a bag that has multiple compartments in it. So that way you can keep all of your watches, your wallets, your phones, everything in one compartment, and you don't need to disrupt those just to pull your laptop out. 4, consolidate your liquids. All right. If you got eye drops, if you got shampoo, if you got toothpaste, you got all these little things, they're going to have to be declared. Security is going to need to get eyes on those things. That if you get from one side of the scanner to the other and you haven't pulled them out and put them in the bin, you're going to get stopped. They're going to have to put your bag through again, and you're going to be that person tying up the line because now you got to pull those things out. Okay. You're going to be the people or the person that everyone's rolling their eyes at. All right. Number 5, strip before arriving. Before you get up to the security checkpoint, or if you're standing in line waiting to go through a security checkpoint, get everything out of your pockets in advance. Get your belt off if you got one. Take your wallet out. Everything except your phone or your boarding pass and your ID card, which you can easily unzip the bag, pop those in quick at the last second. Everything except those, have out of your pocket. I can't even believe people get all the way up to security checkpoint and they have 98 cents in their pocket. I just can't believe it. It blows my mind, but it happens all the time, and they act like they're completely caught off guard by it. Empty out your pockets. Make sure you got nothing on. Make sure everything that is you is a part of you, with the exception of those cloth clothing that you're wearing. All right. Number 6, pay attention. I can't say this enough. That might be the one thing that's 100% in your control. But if you're not paying attention, now you're just annoying people. Now you're slowing yourself down because you're caught in conversation or because you're playing around on your phone, and you absolutely do not even need to be playing around on your phone for that 7 minutes that you're standing in line. You could have your attention there in that moment, focused, ready to go. So that way, when you're up, you're the person who's actually through security in a matter of 1 minute. I promise you, it's very possible. I do it all the time. I'm that person who, as soon as I get up, I'm ready to go. Even if I have to take 2 laptops and an iPad out and I got to take my jacket off and my shoes off, honestly, I'm still through there in a minute. I'm never, ever anymore that person who's holding people up. I hope this helps. I hope you've learned something from this. I hope this gives you something to think about. Honestly, if you have anything to contribute, please, I love hearing from people. plans@planiversity.com. Reach out to us. Comment on the video. Comment on the podcast if that's what you're listening to. But we love hearing feedback from people. We hope that this helps. If you think it did, honestly, a like and subscribe always works. But if you don't feel like doing that, that's cool. Just search us, and we'll still be putting content out one way or another. All right. Until the next time, safe travels. This is Eric Allen, founder of Planiversity. Take care.